Hello, hello, hello.
Hey there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you
Hello.
so very
Hey
much
there.
for joining us on tonight. We are here and we are ready for an action-packed night. Today, we'll kick off our first series of recession-proofing your income, your business, and all around, I'm just going to say your whole holistic view when it comes to your money. So tonight, I want to strictly focus on lending and finance. And I'm going to stop a second and take a hot second to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about me and why I feel that I'm qualified to talk about this subject. Because a lot of people will say, well, she does so many things. So what gives her the right to get in this lane of finance? So I'm going to tell you. My name is Dr. Shamonia Wimberly. I have been in the financial industry for over 20 years. I have had the pleasure of working with individuals from an investment aspect, also from personal banking aspect, mortgage and financing, commercial and real estate. And with that, my last employer, I was an expert with small business lending. So on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, we had to scrub a small business list, go out, learn about that business, and be ready to knock on those business doors and come back with a loan. So we had to build pipelines around loans. And with that experience, I found that a lot of small businesses didn't really fit in the box of what the bank was expecting them to, to have as far as the resources, the capital, the longevity, all those different things. And I would always partner with different lenders in the community in which I can refer my client. So, of course, you have to do it the legal way, not necessarily giving my client's information to the lender, but offering a plan B, or, I know that this company, this is a lender that you might want to reach out to because they offer alternative lending. And one other thing that I found out was, when we talk about alternative lending, we typically know that the interest rates may be a little higher. And I always tell people, guess what? Your key is to get in. When you get in, guess what? You can restructure. And if I can pause real quick and tell you a short story. When I did my investments, I did all my real estate, my investments with alternative lending, with secondary lenders. And of course, my interest rate was super high, but I was able to build a portfolio over $1.2 million in real estate.
Wow.
And I understood that my own sole goal was to get those properties in hand. And once I got them in hand, I can restructure them, refinance them while I was building my credit. Mm-hmm. So don't listen to people when they tell you, no, you don't want to do that. Research all your options. Okay. Yeah. So with that being said, I partner with this phenomenal gentleman, and his name is Jimmie Williams. He is the founder and president of JW Acquisition and Development Group, LLC. Let me tell y'all, he has multiple facets of different companies, and they all serve a purpose around helping individuals grow their portfolio financially. And I'm telling you, this is a man that's well connected. Anyone that he's connected to and he refers you to, you can bet your bottom dollar that guess what? They are here to help you and they have your best interest at hand. So he also is the founder and president of JW Real Estate Training Institute, JW Acquisition Funding Group, all based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Although Jimmie only has a 2-year college degree, and I don't know why we're saying only, because 2 years in college is like, voila, right? That's a great accomplishment. Mm-hmm. 2 years, a 2-year college degree, associate degree from the Art Institute in Fort Lauderdale. He's ready to, he has read over 500 books in personal development, mindset, real estate, people skills, all those different things. And he's attended over 100 webinars, trainings, seminars, as well as he has self-taught himself. on a lot of these different things. He is passionate about God, Yeshua. Everything that he does is centered around his faith and his belief. Jimmie is a marketplace apostle, private money lender, real estate investor, personal development mentor and coach. But most importantly, he often is referred to as a man after Yahshua's God's own heart. So without further ado, because y'all, his bio is like super long, I am going to, and I may miss some important points, but guess what? I'm going to let him, do an introduction of himself and let his credentials and his experience speak for itself. And we also have some other experts on the line, and I'm asking him to do the honors of introducing them as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, my dear sister. You know what? I'm not going to go into that bio because you did a great job. I think there was enough said in there. And what we'll do is we'll just post it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because, because a lot of times when people hear, like I told you, when I did interviewed you, we had some people that contacted us and said, man, there's no way I can afford her. Or, it was almost intimidating because with your doctorate degree, what you got, you've been in school, you've done so many things. And we just want to make it simple for people to let them know, listen, we're here to help you. And that's why sometimes I kind of cut it short and I get right to the point. But you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. And, I really appreciate the opportunity and the privilege for you to bring me on your show, okay, and to have my entire team on the show. I'm going to introduce them in just a moment. And my lovely queen, I didn't know she was going to, well, I actually asked her to be a part of this, but I thought she was going to say no, but I just want to take a moment and honor her. And men, if you're out there, I always do this. Yeah, if I have my wife with me, I always tell the men out there, whether you're single or married, these are our queens, okay? And this queen, I've been with her 11 years, and everything I've accomplished, I would not be where I am today without the Most High and without this woman he gave me about 11 years ago. Travis, you had the pleasure to meet her in person, but I just want to give her a moment and say a couple of words, honey, before I get into this.
I just want to thank you for allowing me to participate. This is going to be a power-packed night. I know, with the partners and the financial education, there's so much pouring into it. My background is marketing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm here just to be a soundboard and to just really just glean off all the education. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you, honey. Thank you. Awesome. So what I want to do is I want to start by saying to everyone who's watching, if you can, just grab a pen and a piece of paper. I always recommend one of these, okay, because you can get $1 billion idea. You can hear it say something. It can pass through your mind, but that's the problem. Sometimes it passes through the mind and into the air, and somebody picks it up 10 years later. You see it on television or you see it on someone's clothes, and you go, that was mine. Well, it was yours, but you didn't capitalize on the opportunity. And I think in the middle of a pandemic, what I've understood about pandemics, oftentimes great leaders or visionaries, you know what I mean? People who are going to be revolutionary, do something great for the community in the area of finance or whatever it might be, they come out of those tough times. So, I call it the plandemic. You and I, Dr. Shamonia, we did a few, you was on one of them, but we did a show with some other people. One of the guys, I think it's Johnny Magnificent. He said, instead of a pandemic, we need a plandemic. And let me tell you something. Whenever it looks like it's dark and it's impossible to get funding, trust me, in 1939 and 2008 and all those times where the market crashed, people were still becoming millionaires. But they found a way to solve a problem. And the big problem we're having today is an economic problem. I think that there's enough to go around, but we just, people like us who understand business have to find ways or create ways to get that money into their hands. And in this system, there's only a few ways to make money. Okay, the top two ways I think is real estate. We gotta let someone else in here. Hold on one second. Apologies, guys. I don't want to leave this person out. They're trying to get in.
Okay.
I get going sometimes, but I forget. I don't want to leave anybody out. So there's two ways to really get into this thing. I think it's real estate, and it's buying businesses, whether it be franchises or you start a business and you build that business up. Then you have stocks and bonds and other things of that nature. But the best way to really get started is sometimes you may have a vision, but you don't have the income. You don't have the money to really get that thing off the ground. That's one of the number one reasons and causes of failure. If you guys read that book, Think and Grow Rich, you may have a brilliant idea, but nobody won't give you the money to get the thing started. some of us grow up in, in a very obscure situation, and you have $1 billion idea, but it takes $100,000 or maybe $1 million to get the thing off the ground. I'm not sure if y'all saw that movie. What was it? Social Networking with Mark Zuckerberg, the story of Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
His best friend gave him like $2,000 to start that website, and that company's worth billions today. So what are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about money. One thing I learned about money is, I just learned this from one of my other mentors. His name is Richard. I had him on a show. He said, money is expensive, Jimmie. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, because, people go to desperate measures to get it. And if you have to borrow it, especially at the wrong time, you end up paying so much more back for what you borrowed if you can't turn that money over.
Yeah.
So it is expensive. But I said to him this, without the money to build a business, how expensive is that? That could be poverty for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I urge you out there in this economy, find, non-traditional ways. That's what we're going to talk about today. Unconventional, unorthodox methods to put money in the hands of the people that really need it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not knocking the government because it has helped some people with the stimulus check and those things. But for some small businesses, they're really, really hurting right now. And that's the major audience I want to tap into tonight, because, these guys, they were making $5,000 and $10,000 and $20,000 a month. I'm talking nail shops, hair salons, the Chinese restaurants. All of a sudden, they got nothing because they had to close. Well,
right.
we're going to talk about a way tonight to put $20,000 to $30,000 to $50,000 in your hands tonight. And, there's no I in team, right? Together, everyone achieves more. And so what I've learned, Dr. Shamonia, you've learned this too, that when you build yourself a strong conglomerate, if you can't do something, then more than likely the person that you associate, these other people that are around you, can do it. It's a great idea to have smarter people around you, and that's what has happened with me and my wife. We've had the privilege to meet two people that we have on here tonight, who's been a tremendous addition to JW Acquisitions Funding Group, and they have their own businesses. Okay, so let me just start right there. They have their own visions, but they've decided to say, hey, Jimmie, we want to partner with you to help you help your people. And then in turn, what we do is if someone comes to me and Arlene, we can't help them, we will refer them to either the two people we're going to talk about. So the first person I want to talk about really, really quick is, of course, because I do ladies first, always. My dear brother, Travis, you can understand, but you're coming in a minute. But okay, you can understand, okay. Her name is Lana Larkins, out of California, Riverdale, California. I met her through advertising on Craigslist. And I tell I tell all of my students, listen, nobody's going to know you until you make the attempt to know them. So, advertising, getting out there, not being afraid to shake a hand and put an ad in a newspaper. You're going to invest either time or money or both to meet the right people. If you stay at home and you have a brilliant idea, $1 billion idea, how in the world is going to get out? How are you going to make money if nobody knows you exist? Mm-hmm. So you have to advertise. So I put a little ad in a newspaper about, well, not newspaper, it was Craigslist. Yeah, Craigslist, because I advertise in both. I do newspaper advertising and Craigslist. But about 8 months ago, I put an ad out about something similar to what we're going to be talking about tonight, which is getting your business funded, like your business, your LLC. And Elena responded. And from that day since, I thought I was going to be mentoring her. She's been kind of like mentoring me in a lot of ways. She's a powerful woman. I mean, she's a single mother. She's built her own FICO score. Well, not the whole FICO, but one of the bureaus is over 800. So she's self-taught. She kind of taught herself how to, you know what, Jimmie, I can build my own credit. I know how to get funding. She has a strong background in the merchant cash advance business. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's basically saying if you have a business, you have bank statements, we can get you funded based on bank statements, even if you have a 500 FICO. So example of that, if you're making $30,000 a month, you can show us that you did it 6 months in a row, we can get you 50 grand. Probably within 5 days, not looking at credit and none of that stuff. And she has a very extensive background in that. She does all types of funding and lending. And she's an amazing individual. I brought her on to help me with phone calls, which I knew she had her own thing going, but I said, listen, I need some help with some basic things. But the more she talked, I realized, man, I need to learn from Lana. So I'm going to have her come on and say a few words, let her tell her story, tell us a little bit about, her background and talk about some of the programs that she offers. Now, again, she specializes in cash advance, but as of late, Lana has tapped into so many other ways of getting funding. Yeah. And so, when you guys come to JW Acquisitions and Development, trust me, we have a ton of things that we can put in front of you, regardless of credit. We have things for good credit too. But if you don't have good credit, you know, she knows ways to getting you funded. So Lana, if you're there, I'm going to see if I can unmute you and have you say a few words, okay?
I'm already unmuted, Jimmie.
Oh, you are? Okay, you're already ready.
There we go.
Awesome, beautiful. Go ahead. You look gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Lana Larkins. I met Jimmie, like he said, on Craigslist last year. And from there, it's just been a roller coaster, but in a good way. As we all know, Jimmie and his wife are very special. They're God-fearing, and they just truly want to help people. So it was a no-brainer for me to lock arms with them to try to help others. So I began my journey back in 2009 doing credit. And then I kind of went off and started doing sales. And then I came back to credit because my sister made me. You know, she's like, we need to do credit because people need the service. So I've been doing credit again, literally for just maybe about almost a year now. And I just kept it to myself, and I just, you know, normally just work on referrals. But it's a recession-proof business, and I do know that people really need it. But like Jimmie was saying, that, you know, with the merchant cash advance, credit is not always an issue to get people. So if you're a business owner and your credit is lacking, you know, let's just say it's 600 or 500 even, we can get you funding based on your revenue of your business. Now, with that being said, there's other programs that I have access to. There's, you know, lines of credit for both personal and business. Your FICO score doesn't have to be over 700. It could be like a 620, 650, and there's no documentation. So you don't have to provide proof of, you know, income or anything like that. So those are some of the programs that I focus on mostly. Again, there's other programs, but it kind of is geared to what your needs are. So the best thing with that is to always have a phone consultation with someone to find out how much they're looking for in funding, and then kind of much go from there. But I just can't, you know, explain how happy I am to, you know, be a part of this journey with Jimmie and Arlene. And when he talked about my own personal credit, it was a journey for myself. But I was over at 800 in Equifax. It kind of dropped a little bit because when you apply for credit, it's a $799 now. But across the board, I'm about, the lowest credit score I have is 788. So I'm excited about that. So if you guys have questions on how to get things removed or to how to optimize your credit, you know, I'll be happy to talk to anybody. But thank you for having me.
Wow. $799. Wow.
Oh,
you know how many people like to say, man, you know, my credit dropped a little bit to $799.
That's what happens. Your score drops.
Yeah, but to $799.
$799. Seriously.
Wow. Wow. Well, Lana, listen, thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to
No
do that.
problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and the greatest thing I admire about you, before we get into all this thing, how we're going to help the audience here, is how you've been such an amazing mother, you know, with your daughter, and to hold on to the passion. I always tell people, it's not necessarily the how, it's the why.
Yes,
Faith, listen, the Bible says faith, without faith, it's impossible to please him. Hebrews chapter 11,
and
right? But the thing
one more thing I want to add really quick.
Sure.
You know, I just want to let people know that, you know, credit, if you have bad credit, it's not the end of the world. You can always change your situation. You know, 6 years ago, I filed BK. You know, I don't really tell anybody, but I just want to be transparent about my story. I filed bankruptcy back in 2014. And if I can overcome that and get my credit score to where it is now, anybody can change their situation. So don't think that it's the end of the world.
Wow. Wow. And so you didn't share that with me, but it wasn't important. It wasn't necessary to share it.
Sharing it, but I felt like I need to, because everybody goes through something.
Yeah. And I think it adds to the fact that anything's possible with the right attitude, which takes me back to faith. It's you know, why are you getting up in the morning? Why you do what you do? And my wife and I, our vision, like I said, the money's great because we have to have money in this society to live, right? But purpose, divine purpose, is what it's really all about. Okay, what gets me up in the morning, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's my spiritual children and the people the lives that we touch. If we help people get funding, or people that we have that are in a JW Academy, you know, they don't know how to put their first business deal together. You know, single mother with 5 kids. I know a single mother with 5 kids and did that for several years, and is fighting to get that first deal done. You know, so it's always the why. And when I look at Lana, you know, she's Arlene and I, she's like a hero to us. Let me tell you something, guys. You can have $1 billion and that could, you know, without purpose, that won't last very long. Money, let me tell you, we love money, But if it's no purpose that goes along with it, and I'm saying this before we start talking about money and how to get it, there's no true value or sense of where you're going in life just because you have the money. You got to know that it's much more about the money. About the money, about the purpose behind the money. So for me, it's this woman that's right next to me. She drives me every day. She's the driving force, you know, and the people that we touch, the lives that we touch, this conglomerate that I've met of people here. Dr. Shamonia, when you came on, and if you guys have not seen that story, you got to go listen to Dr. Shamonia's story. You really put a new fire in me and my wife to go further and to move to work harder. You really have. So now that we talked about Lana, I'm going to talk about my dear brother here. And believe it or not, you wanted to say something, honey, before I talk about Travis?
No. This is going to be such. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Awesome. Travis, man, this guy is he's one of the very best. And Lana, no discredit to you because you're awesome. But I've had a 6-year track record with Travis.
Yes.
Okay. I met him when my wife and I was in Palm Bay, Florida, as full-time missionaries preaching, you know, apostles in the church. And then we, you know, and I had my last job back then. I was working for about 3 years with eBay. My wife was working at a print shop, and we moved into this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. And we had several of our spiritual children move from different parts of the country to come live with us. So it was me and her, a cat, and 5 spiritual kids in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with one income. And that was my income at eBay. But I had a vision, I had a dream, I had a burning desire to succeed. 35 businesses I had tried at the time, and every one of them failed. Let me tell you something. You have to keep pushing, no matter how bad and how dark it gets. I believe in those kids, and guess what? Those kids are out. They're in other parts of the country. They got their own houses, and they're doing great, right?
They got their own families, kids, life, businesses.
Absolutely. So I met Travis. Somebody else is trying to get in. 1 second. Travis, I'm sorry, man. 1 second. I'm going to get to you. All right, let that person in. So I met Travis through a friend. I was going to a church, working at eBay. A church friend of mine. He's a young guy. I was mid-30s at the time. This guy was like 25 or 26. Mm-hmm. He came up to me and said, Jimmie, you know, he said, I'm going to be the next Jay-Z. I said, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. All right, you're going to be the next Jay-Z. And he actually believed it. I just want to tell you, listen, faith will push you to that next level. Yep. I said, how are you going to do that? He said, well, I understand one thing. I said, I understand that when you start creating wealth, the first level of that is getting good credit. And I have a guy that I know, his name is Travis Robinson. He helped me fix my credit, and I got like $60,000 to $80,000 in credit cards. And I just bought a new car, and I'm getting ready to buy a house and some property. I'm getting ready to do something. I'm getting ready to make some moves. And I started thinking to myself, man, I'm not cutting the mustard as a man. What am I doing wrong? I had tried these other businesses, but I realized there was something going on up here. And so when I met Travis, Travis has been a lifelong mentor, even though I haven't talked to him very long for the last couple of years, right? We haven't really talked. Yeah. But I stuck with him. I watched how he worked. I sent him a few clients, and Travis has never not kept his word with a client. He took my credit. This is like many years ago. He took my file from 550 to like 690 in about 90 days. Yeah. Okay, This was a few years ago. But what happened was I made some mistakes along the way, you know, because when the credit gets high, if you don't make the right decisions, what happens? You fall back again. Okay, so he did that for me. I'm like, this guy's the real deal. And he has several clients. His business has expanded and grown. He does that. He's an amazing business consultant. Wow, somebody else is trying to join us now. And he's also, he does business funding on the highest level. Okay, all types of funding. And particularly tonight, I want him to talk a little bit about something called business in a box. Okay, you definitely you guys are going to want to get your pen and a piece of paper and listen to this. Raquel, if you're just joining us, I'm going to put you on mute until the end. Let me see here. 1 second here. Travis, 1 second, my friend. 1 second. Let's see. Okay, she already muted herself. Okay, great. So yes, this guy, my screen is giving me problems. I'm sorry, guys. All right, there we go. Again, and he's a great friend of mine, and his passion is his 3 girls. We were talking about that a little bit more earlier today, and his business has expanded. I'm talking maybe triple since I met him. Yeah. And he loves to help people. He keeps his word. In business with me, I value the integrity of a thing. That's right. All right. It's not necessarily how big the deal is. If I know I'm gonna sign a contract and make $100,000, you know, if it's 3 people involved, we all make that. but we know the deal is done wrong and it's going to hurt the other client, count me out. So I've never had a problem with him. He's always kept his word with clients. We were talking about this before we started. We had one client that I sent him that complaint, and guess what? That client refused to pay him. So that lets you know it wasn't his fault. So I'm gonna let him tell a little bit about himself, and actually tell us about his business and about himself. And then Travis, you can go right into the business in the box. Again, the business in the box is dealing with just business credit and business funding. And then we'll circle back and I'll talk more about, let Lana talk a little bit more about what she's doing. And my wife and I are going to talk about what we're doing. Okay. So Travis, you can go ahead and take it away, sir. Sorry for the interruptions. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I want to say first and foremost, thank you guys for having me on this particular webinar. The first thing that I want to say is passion. Mm-hmm. You got to have passion, and my passion is helping people. Mm-hmm. So that's the first and foremost thing. And then you have to have your why. Yeah. And of course, my why is my 3 beautiful daughters. Mm-hmm. So when you combine those two and, you put God first, I always believe that success will pretty much chase you down. Mm-hmm. Let me just kind of give you guys a background of myself and, where I come from. I've been in the financial industry for over 14 years. I started out as a mortgage broker down in South Florida back in 2006, and did pretty good in that, was pretty successful. Of course, when the market began to turn, I tried to find other avenues to kind of keep up the pace in terms of having an income. And during the time that I was at the mortgage company, we were getting a lot of turndowns of individuals that just could not qualify for funding or for a mortgage. So I began to do research. I don't know, it's just something about being self-taught. Like when you're self-taught, you just have that passion. So I began to just really dive into credit and understanding the different credit laws and the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the Fair Credit Billing Act, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And to make a long story short, I began to take those files that we considered them dead files at that particular time, and I began to work on the credit. And within about maybe 60 days, I turned about maybe 20, 25 files around to go into funding. So that became my passion, because when you have people who are out and they're trying to apply for a mortgage, or they're trying to change their lives, and it's because of credit that they can't move forward, when you have the ability to change lives, and you hear the passion in people when they call you and say, wow, I can't believe that I just bought the house of my dreams, So that became my passion. And then, to make a long story short, I started doing some real estate back in, I believe it was 2016. And I was trying to get some funding going, because I had a pretty good deal set up. I was scheduled to make about maybe $50,000 on this flip. It was a rehab. And I just couldn't, for some odd reason, find funding. So I went to my bank, of course, they pulled my credit, everything looked good. But they say, well, because it's real estate, we need this, we need that. So I couldn't get the loan that I needed, or the funding that I needed to make this deal happen. So I was like, okay, back to the drawing board. So I began to just research. I began to research, how can I come up with funding? How can I get the capital that I need? So I started researching business credit. That's where I started. I don't know why, but that's where I started business credit. Someone said, start with business credit. So I began to dive into business credit, kind of getting the nuances of how to actually establish business credit and what the banks are actually looking at. So I began to get with my mentor. That's another good thing to have, is you want to have a mentor. So my mentor is basically an attorney, and he does a lot of real estate and things of that nature. So when I began to sit down and converse with him about building business credit, lo and behold, he had a good buddy of his that was in that particular field. So that's why you always want to have a mentor, because you never know the connections.
Right.
So I began to speak with this gentleman about business credit, how to build business credit. And he began to share a lot of, the smaller things with me, but I began to take that into heart. And then I really started to really dive in and learn business credit from the underwriting standpoint, like the underwriting guidelines. So I met a good buddy of mine from college that I hadn't seen probably in over, 20 years or something like that. I don't want to reveal my age, but yeah, it was like years. But he worked at a bank, and he worked in the business department where they were doing loans and things of that nature. So I got with him, and he began to share with me the underwriting guidelines, what the banks are looking for when you're talking about business credit, because I kept applying and I kept getting denied, and I kept wondering why am I keep getting denied? My personal credit scores were pretty high, 740, 750. But then when he shared with me the underwriting guidelines, it's like the light bulb just went off. Like, wow, underwriting guidelines. This is what the banks are basically looking for. So it's almost like, you're in school and you're getting that test, but it's like that open book test.
Yeah.
So anyone that, if you ever been to school, college, or whatever, those are the tests you should ace. So you have an open book test. If you don't get an A on that, then something's wrong. So I had the underwriting guidelines, and I began to put the pieces together. And what I found out, and I'm going to share this with your audience, is that the critical piece when you're talking about building business credit, like there's a lot of companies out there that say they can build business credit. But the key factor in building business credit is basically knowing what the banks are looking for. Number one, the banks are always looking for your business to be at least 2 years old. All right, at least 2 years old. I always like to go 2-3 years old in terms of how long it's been established. Definitely need to be an LLC or corporation. So that's number one. Number two, you have to basically make sure that your business is commercially zoned, meaning that it has an address that's in a commercially zoned place or business. Don't want to have a home address when the banks are looking at your file. Also, what helps is a website, professional email address. They also go as far as in depth to your domain name. You want to have an age domain name. I didn't know all this, but I kind of figured it out. Just kind of going through, the underwriting guidelines. You want to have an age domain name. And then the biggest key is you want to have some business lines of credit already established on your business credit profile. The biggest business credit entities that are out there, you have Small Business Finance Exchange, you have Business Equifax, you have Experian Business, you have PayNet. PayNet is basically the leading industry of credit information when it comes down to making equipment purchases. So if you're trying to purchase, let's say, an automobile for your business, or you're trying to purchase a tractor, or if you're in construction, that's who the lenders are going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at your PayNet. Then you have Dun & Bradstreet. Dun & Bradstreet do a lot of the vendor credit. So you have your vendor trade credit. Also, Dun & Bradstreet does places like Office Depot. Those are basically going to be your small vendor size cards that you'll get. But to dive into the bigger funding, which is what I do, that's the passion that I have, is you want to basically set yourself up properly in accordance to the underwriting guidelines. And to be able to have the ability to be a vendor, because I'm a vendor with Small Business Finance Exchange. I'm a vendor with Equifax Business. I'm a vendor with Experian Business, PayNet. So when you have that ability to be a vendor, basically you have the ability to set the file up right, set it up properly, and then prepare it for funding. On average, depending on the actual profile or file that we're working with, we're able to get anywhere from 50,000 on up to 300,000-400,000, and that's just like one round of funding.
I love that.
So the highest that I've done thus far to date was about 950,000.
Wait a minute, for one client? For one client? Wow.
Yes, for one client.
Y'all better get ready. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, I received that for my life. Thank you. Thank you, Father. I received that for Shamonia and for Sister Lana and all of us. So my brother, keep going. And my wife. Go ahead, man. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. So that's the highest that I've done. But I mean, the average client that we see, we get them, anywhere from 200,000 to 400,000. But it just depends on your situation and your profile, and of course, how aggressive you are. And then one of the key components that I always say is you have to know your end game. When you're talking about business and you're talking about getting funded, or you got to know the end game. And so I always ask people when we sit down and I do a consultation, I say, what's your end game? Like, what do you want to accomplish? Yeah. Because that says a lot. Yeah. And that's how I can kind of determine, where we're going to go for funding, how we're going to basically get you set up and get your profile set up properly. So you got to know your end game, and you have to have all the pieces in place. And of course, it still goes back to personal credit. Like a lot of people out there that I've heard of business credit and building business credit, you do want to set your business up where you could separate yourself from your personal credit. That is very true. However, the banks are still going to take a look at your personal credit. And just for educational purposes, your score still needs to be at least a 680 credit, in terms of your personal credit. Although anything that you're going to do business credit wise, it's going to go on your business credit report, but they're still going to look at your personal credit. Okay. And then from there, you have the ability to do multiple rounds of funding. One of the things that I love when you're talking about business credit, the banks are more lenient towards when you have your business set up right and your personal credit is in place. So for example, you can basically go back to the lender pretty much every 6 months and do increases. Like you may have a line of credit that may be 100,000. Every 6 months, you can always go back and say, hey, I need a line increase. So if everything is still in place, your personal credit is in place, everything else is intact, oftentimes that lender will basically give you a line credit increase. Happens all the time. Just for example, I had a guy that came to me in the construction industry. So we were able to get him around 450,000. And then after about 6 months, we went back in, did some additional rounds of funding for him, got some increases. So we were able to increase that another 250,000 for him. Wow. So those are the things that I'm passionate about in terms of helping people and, helping people to actually reach their goals and, making a difference, making a change in your lives and, bringing up people along the way, because it's about networking and you just never know who you're going to meet. So I want to say thank you to Jimmie for bringing me on and giving me the opportunity to speak in terms of what I do and what I'm passionate about. So
it's amazing to have you, man. We really appreciate it. Dr. Shamonia, I'm going to just have him talk about, because he did talk, and that was greatly, you broke it down to where a 5-year-old could get it, because sometimes people can't make the distinguish between what's the difference between personal credit and business credit. You did a great example of that. But Dr. Shamonia may have some questions, but I want to just go ahead and have you let us know the business in a box. What you just explained was the business in a box, and you and I talked about a fee for that, and I'll let you talk about that. But that was what you explained, right? That's what we call the business in a box. Basically, you do everything from A to Z with them getting their business together. It's basically, you guys do it, we sit on the side and wait. And give us a time frame on that as well as a price and all of that we discussed earlier.
Sure. Okay, so the average turnaround time for a complete build out, that includes your shelf corporation. So we get that set up for you. Normally, you'll have that in your inbox. We also mail that out to you.
Okay.
The complete shelf corporation normally takes about 72 hours.
Okay.
And then from there, we do the web presence because you have to have your website set up. So we do a complete web build out for you. We add your Google listing, your 411 listing, your Manta listing, also the age domain name. So we do all that for you, setting up the commercially zoned address, corporate email address.
Wow.
We do all that for you. And then from there, we also do the financial lines if needed. So the complete build out from A to Z takes us about 45 days.
Wow.
On average. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer, just depends on, the actual accounts that we may need to set up, or sometimes, the commercially zoned address may needs to be updated or what have you. But on average, we're pretty fast in terms of the turnaround time. So average time is about 45 days.
Okay.
Cost associated with it is we do $10,000 is the cost for the program. That's the initial cost, but it depends on how aggressive you want to go.
Okay.
But that's basically the cost associated with the services as well.
Okay. And so after 45 days, do they come back for funding or how, is that a separate fee for them? Let's say, okay, everything's built out and they want to get 50,000 or whatever. Or do you guys take them right into the funding after that, or do they need to pay something extra to get the funding?
Yeah, so most of our clients love for us to do the actual funding for them because we do have banks that we already have relationships with, obviously. So we do funding for them oftentimes. However, some clients like to go on their own and do the funding, so they're welcome to do that.
Okay.
So we actually take them to funding. So on the back end fee, our service fee for that is 9% of whatever we're able to actually achieve for them as far as the funding is concerned on the back end.
Okay.
So that's basically what we do in terms of the actual fee that we charge. But a lot of clients, they still want to say, hey, you know what, I have my relationships established with banks, so you're welcome to do that. But sometimes people just rather for a professional to do it. So either or, we still help them kind of go through that process, even if they do it on their own. So I'm always readily available. My staff is already readily available to still help them and walk them through the process if need be. Okay,
well, thank you. And I'm going to say this, guys, again, I have a 6-year relationship with this man, and I've seen him build out personal credit for people and take them into funding. Sometimes, 30 to 90 days, depending on what the situation was with them. So if you get involved and you do the business in the box, I'm going to highly recommend that once they're done building it out for you, you just go back to them again. And then, you don't pay any upfront fees for the actual funding. You're paying the $10K to do the steps that he talked about, but it's basically, they do it for you. You just wait, and when they're done, they get their fee. When you have your money in the bank, that's when they get their money when it comes to the funding side. That's very important to note. No upfront fees when it comes to funding, okay? And trust me, you could put money on it with Travis. Travis is he's one of the elite that's out there. A lot of people, and listen, my wife, we've been trying, when I say trying, when we first started for 4 or 5 years of trying to find the right companies you can go and buy the shelf corporations and they make all these promises they could do this and that, and $4,000 or $5,000 later, 6 months later, you don't have a dime, And so again, you want to make sure that that you're spending your money wisely. All right. So for $10,000, you are getting a full-fledged built out company that you can take, and they already have banks established, they already have relationships with banks where they'll take you and get you your funding anywhere from 50 to 200,000. You just heard you heard the man say it. One guy got up to 900,000. One construction worker got 450 grand. 6 months later, he was able to come back and get another 200,000. If you know what you're doing with that kind of money in this market, you put some of that in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, okay? You diversify, you buy yourself a multifamily property. You can go to certain websites and buy online drop shipping companies that are making $20,000 and $30,000 a month. There's a lot of ways to turn your money over, and you use that money, OPM, other people's money, to create wealth. All right, so that's pretty much all I have to say. And Travis, I appreciate that. So if you guys are interested in the business in the box, my wife and I are going to make sure there's a link where you can click onto our website to you know, talk to us and sign up for that particular program.
And
Yeah,
I just wanted to interject. The most important thing that we gathered from what Travis was talking about is the why. At the end of every consultation, Travis had to sit down and determine the why. So really, when you get your funding, you have to really see a really greater goal, a longer picture.
Absolutely.
You can't just be looking at it as, well, I just want to sit with 100 grand in my bank account. There has to be more. Money is not useful unless it's working for you.
Absolutely.
And that is what separates richer people from poorer people. Richer people make money work for them. And that's what the objective is, to make money work for you. You are getting money to invest so that it can work for you. It can work for you.
Absolutely. So, thank you very much.
So I have a question also for Travis.
Sure.
So Travis, a lot of our small business owners, we're talking about the recession. We're talking about, well, you know, COVID and everybody. There are some business owners that are really focusing on their business, and right now they may not have the funds to jumpstart. And like, I'm just giving an example. Like my business is, I have a website. I have some of the things that you stated. So do you offer a la carte to small business owners that, you know, during your consultation, you see exactly what they have and where you can build out and take that business from there?
Absolutely. And that is a great question. So we do have a la carte services. Of course, that would come with the consultation. So oftentimes we do have clients that come to us and they already have an LLC. They already have a website. They already have some of the other services that I basically mentioned. But if there's a missing piece, then we basically provide that service as just an a la carte service. And those prices are fairly, you know, really reasonable because the main thing at that point is to get you to funding. So if you already have some of the services, then we basically sit down, go through the consultation, and then make recommendations. And then from there, you know, we just try to get you to the funding table as quickly as possible.
Okay. And also when it comes to individuals funding their business, so let's say my business, Shakira Renee, is looking for you to help us build out our credit, build out our system. We might have 5 out of the 7 things that you offer, right? And I tell you that I'm looking for a loan for $50,000 to expand my business. And when you're looking to go to funding, you know, typically you're gonna like paint a picture for the business owner, because most of the business owners really, they just know that they need to buy product, they need to pay payroll, you know, they can communicate that, but you have to paint a story to the lender, you know, all those things. Do you do that for them?
Yes. What I do is I bring that vision circle. So what I do is basically, like you say, I do paint that picture. And I let them know, hey, you're right here today, but you know, 30 days from now, or however long it takes, you need to be here. In order for us to be there, these are the services that we're going to have to add in order to get you there. And then once you're there, it's basically now you're opening yourself up to those lenders that we have in our network, or some people, they already have relationships with banks. So the biggest thing at that point, oftentimes I'll pull a business credit report, kind of see what's on there, kind of analyze it. So I'm getting a bird's eye view from what the banks are looking at. So when I'm looking at that business credit report, I'm making my assessments. So I'm looking at it, and I'm looking and I'm doing my check points like an underwriter. So I'm looking at the guidelines and I'm saying, okay, they have this, check. They have, you know, the 411 listing, check. They have Google, they're listed on Google, check. So I'm going through all those little benchmarks just to make sure that they have everything set up properly. And if there's something that's missing, then I do offer those a la carte services. And then once all those things are checked, it's like the green light. And so now it's like, okay, we're ready for funding.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Wow.
Great question. Great
So
question.
Okay, we may have some other guests that may have questions also for Travis and also for Miss Lana.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute everyone right now.
Okay.
So, Okay, everyone's unmuted.
Everyone is unmuted.
Should be unmuted. Yep, let's see. Unmute. They still telling me to unmute them individually. So yeah, if you guys on the other end there and you're still muted, try to unmute if you can, okay?
Yeah, there you go. Because we want you to be able to
And
Participate
please
and ask
feel free
questions,
to
yeah.
ask any questions.
Everyone should be unmuted now.
Okay.
I have a question. What about if you have two businesses and you need funding for the two business? Because I have a cleaning company and a makeup line.
Okay, that's a great question. And that's one of the questions that I ask in my strategy sessions.
The cleaning company is a LLC.
Because at the end of the day, nothing stops you from getting funded in multiple businesses. So if you have more than one business, why not basically build out both businesses and get funding for both of your businesses? So nothing stops you in that regards. So if your business has been in existence for at least 2 years, then yes, you can capitalize on both businesses. Yes.
Okay. Because I have some of the stuff than what you were saying.
Okay. Yes. So what I would do is I would just recommend setting up a strategy session with me. My company is GrowWise Capital. My direct number right now, because of the recession, is area code 321. That's the area code. 684-6038.
I don't catch it, but I will take it from Mona.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I actually have a question.
Lana. Yes.
Yes. Really quick, this is for Travis. I've always heard in this business that when you're going for business credit, the age or the seasonality of the corporation is good, but when you open up your bank account, lenders look at the date that the bank account was open. Is that true?
That's true.
That is true in certain financial institutions. So for example, there are certain banks that will basically say, okay, we can't lend to you because you just opened up your bank account. But the lenders that we have a relationship with over the years, they don't require any of that. They're just looking at the underwriting guidelines that we have in place, and that's all they really they're really concerned about. But that is true for the most part. A lot of banks do look at that, but you know, the lenders that we have relationships with, they don't take that into consideration.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's good news. Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lana, I have a question for you also. I know.
Uh-oh.
Oh, someone's echoing.
Sandra, if you're there, there's some background noise there. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, Lana, my question is, I'm familiar with I'm assuming it's merchant services, right? With merchant service processing, and you can do a cash advance based upon your sales, correct?
That's
what's the minimum amount that an individual can, minimum sales or minimum loan amount that someone can have the service with?
Okay, so with merchant cash advances, obviously it depends on the business and the monthly revenue, but normally they want to see businesses doing at least $10,000 a month for the past 90 days. And with that, you can get double the amount of what your revenue is, because they don't want to set business owners up for failure because you're paying back daily based on your revenue.
Yep.
In some instances, you can pay back weekly, but usually they start you off with daily. And if you make your daily payments on time for at least 30 days, then they can refinance that loan.
So Lana, this is my next question. For a lot of us new entrepreneurs, you know, we have multiple bank accounts and our stuff is a little scattered. What are some suggestions that you can recommend to us as far as prepping to become eligible for your program?
Well, you know, a lot of the lending guidelines have changed. You know, back in the day, you know, a lot of people can make up their own bank statements, but nowadays lenders have caught on to that and they use what's called decision logic to verify your banking statements. So the best thing that I can recommend is don't be discouraged if your revenue is not $10,000 a month. We can try to work around that. And it might not be $20,000. It might not be $10,000. It might be $5,000. But something is better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always refinance that loan after 30 days of making your payments on time to get even more money. Because at the end of the day, these lending institutions want to service you again. And 40% of MCA loans are on repeat business.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say, make sure you have your 90-day bank statements. If it's above 5,000, 6,000, still submit it to see if we can do something with you. But that's the only thing you can do because it's based on your revenue. Most clients don't have the credit. If your credit is, I would say, above the 620, then we can go with the personal line of credit route or even the business line of credit route. But usually they want a 620 or above because we can go to like credit unions that are a little bit more lenient with their funding guidelines.
Okay, so if I could summarize, if I am a business owner and I sell product or I offer a service, I want to be consistent in showing every single deposit to come into my business account. And I'm just throwing this out there because a lot of people, including myself, I accept Cash App, I accept Square, I accept PayPal. So Cash App probably wouldn't be something that would be able to capture my sales. Is that correct?
That is correct. I have Cash App too, but what I normally do is if someone pays me via Cash App, I transfer it into my bank account and it shows that transaction.
Absolutely.
So whenever you get, outside transactions from third parties, whether it's Cash App, Venmo, Zelle's into your bank account already, but PayPal, transfer that to your bank account because that shows transaction history.
Yep.
Okay. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to be quiet because I know some other people have some questions out there, but I just want to
okay.
those little things that we, that we don't think of. And really and truly, we're in better position than we think. Absolutely. And, even with our credit, 620 is not, is not asking a lot of our credit score. We can probably get there in 30, 60 days.
Yeah.
No,
if we get with you guys,
it's pretty fair. Right? Credit. And you think about it with the 620, there's a lot of credit unions, that will lend to you a $25,000 credit card, even with late pays. I've seen it.
Wow.
Maybe one of them. They're very generous once you become a member, but you have to be, you have to know someone in the military to get into Navy. But if you know someone, I suggest you get into that because I've gotten someone funded with a credit card. It was $11,500, but she had a late pay. And most lenders won't lend on a late pay, but credit unions are a little bit more lenient.
Okay, awesome.
I'll give Jimmie a list of credit unions that are very lenient when it comes to funding their members. Okay. So that when you're at least at a 620, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You don't have to be at the 700s. Obviously, if you're 700s or above, your interest rate is going to be lower, and you'll probably get access to a higher credit. But like I said, it's better than nothing just to get that seed capital to go into Travis's program or to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Please get that over to me because I think that would be very helpful.
I'll send you an email.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I want to say this little. Oh, you know what? If anybody has any questions, just jump in and say something. You were going to say something?
No.
Okay.
I'm enjoying all this information.
Okay.
I really am.
Yeah, I'm going to give you.
Have any questions?
Yeah. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question for Lana with your program with the Merchant Cash Advance, because I get quite a few clients that come through for credit repair, but of course most people they're looking for funding like right away. So I think that would be a great segue to send them over to you. So what is kind of like the average turnaround time from start to finish? Like if they have all their ducks in a row, they have the income where they're getting where they have the income and they have the bank statements. What's the average turnaround time?
Merchant cash advancing is rather quickly because it's deemed as an emergency situation. So once they've submitted all their docs, and that's the key because some people can lag. But once they submit all their docs, it's usually 24-hour time of approval or less. And then once they're approved and they sign their loan documentation, then they can get the money in their business bank account within 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
Because it's emergency cash advance. So I don't recommend it for everyone because it is high in interest rates, but it's deemed for those people that need money now. If they can wait, then they might want to do your program. But if they can't wait and they need the money now, maybe to do your program, then yes, I would say within 24 to 72 hours, they can get funded into their bank account depending on when they submit their docs.
Wow. Fantastic. That's good.
Yes.
And then one other question, and then you say they need, is it 6 months of bank statements?
Generally, the rule of thumb is 90 days, so 3 months. Now, if the underwriter might want to see more, they might want to be prepared for 6 months, but normally they'll go back as far as 90 days. It's rare I see 6 months.
Okay. Awesome.
Lana, does the balance make a difference? So if I took it, okay.
It does. Jimmie actually sent me a file the other day, and I have to tell you about that, Jimmie. But I took it to one of my guys, and I know he can get any deal done. And he said, you know what? Her credit score is fine because she was in the mid 600s. Her revenue was, decent. He can still get her something. But what really turned that file around is her available balance, because it was always positive and it was high. So not only do they look at your revenue, they do look at your available balance, and that does make a difference.
Oh, really? Wow.
Her down, he'll take anybody. He's amazing. So I'll update you later on that, Jimmie. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Yeah. And I wanted to say this. One of my other mentors, you guys saw me do a show with him. His name is Richard. And I did a lot of deals with him when it comes to cash advance. And we got someone funded. Lana knows all about this too, because we had to get an attorney involved. We got this one guy funded $50,000. Well, we got him $27,000 in December, another $25,000 in January. 507 FICO scores what he had, but he had a business where he was generating $30,000 a month in a securities business. He goes out and he puts in these security systems, okay? And Strike is a very nice guy, and we went out, we did the work for him, but because he had the bank statements, he could get the funding. I'm like, you're making $30,000 a month. What do you need the money for? He said, well, I need the money to make the payroll. I said, okay, no problem. He paid the first time, the back end fee. January, he gets upset with me and decides he's not going to pay. Okay. So I said, I talked to Lana. I said, what should we do? We sent the letter and all that. And now that the environment has gotten so hostile and COVID has hit, needless to say, he never paid the back end fee. So, then that does happen in this business. But I said all that to say, now that COVID is here, we're not going to be able, it's harder to just secure, to get funding based on just bank statements, depending on what this. I've talked to several men this week that will not do cash advance right now because of COVID. But now, my mentor came to me and said, Jimmie, we can do it, but we want some type of property. We just got someone funded about 2 months ago, and they had very little bank statements, but they had a property that they owned. So we had to put that in the deal. We had to collateralize the property, because if she doesn't make those payments, then that will be the collateral. So that's the hostile environment of cash advance right now. So that's why I highly recommend people to just pay the money and get your credit repaired, get your first round of funding, and then turn around and go through Travis's program, because those are fail-proof. I think they're the best. And cash advance, I mean, like I said before, money gets expensive, especially with cash advance. So if he borrowed $50,000, I remember his first loan with us when he got to 27, he was paying back $400 a day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
That's why but he made his payments on time, and that's why in January we were able to come back and give him some more money. And we were going to refinance with him, but he decided not to pay and everything. And it just, you just hope that people keep their word when they sign contracts and those kind of things, because that does happen in this business.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that the people that we work with have the same integrity. That's not always the case, but it's very hostile now just to go in and do just bank statements now. Some of them are saying, I call like 5 guys this week. There's like, you know what? We normally do it, but we're going to wait 5 months before we start doing cash advance again, because we don't know if we're going to get our money back.
Yeah.
That's just what's going on right now. What were you going to say?
Yes. Right. Because, today's time is completely different when it comes to lending. But I think what's so important is what Travis mentioned earlier. When you have relationships with the banks, that's you're going to be your gold mine.
Absolutely.
You know, so again, cash advances is just for an emergency situation. We can get it done in emergency. We do have relationships with the bank through my one guy that, you know, we submitted that file to, but other than that, you're right. It has changed. Even on the personal side, it's tough.
Yeah.
You can't even get to call the banks anymore. You're on the phone for over an hour.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
You can't even get through.
And for those whose end goal at the end is even purchasing a home, Travis mentioned about relationships with banks. You know, a lot of the relationships that we have with credit repair persons that we work with, Travis himself included, I'm sure, can vouch for the fact that you used to be able to go into a bank and you could get approved with a 620, 630, 640, 650 credit score. Now you have to have a 700 credit score, which makes that much more effort into your credit. So take this time with COVID-19 to focus on what's in my file. How can I get prepared for funding properly so that it gives you a stronger leg to stand on when you are presenting yourself to do the consultations, to move forward. If you have a home that you want to purchase at the end of the day, they're going to be looking at things like this. Well, we want to approve you, but your credit score is 700, which means, or less than 700. So which means, I mean, in this challenging time, can you make your payments on time?
Right.
So,
you know, Arlene, I just want to add to that as well. You know, personal credit obviously is very important. But what I try to teach people outside of having good credit is when you get that good credit, leverage it into business credit, because that's the key to creating financial wealth, not personal business. So, I mean, that's what I tell everybody that comes to me and asks me for advice. You know, you have your personal credit to leverage it, but make sure you get a corporation and start building out corporate credit.
Awesome, awesome. Someone here who's listening in, they might still be on. The name is Sydney Smith. They gave us some a nice chat, and they said that R as in Roger, B as in boy, F as in Frank, creditunion.org is very friendly when it comes to getting funding. I guess it's a credit union, so you may want to check them out. rbfcu.org. Okay, thank you very much, Sydney. If you want to,
said Negro friendly.
Yeah, you saw that. I
can put on my glasses for that. Oh my God.
I didn't want to say that because I don't know who the audience is. You know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't care.
Listen, can we be transparent? Can we be transparent that most of the people that are really having trouble securing funding right now are minorities?
Absolutely.
I mean, let's just keep it real.
True.
I mean, I'm sure, Travis, even you, the files that you came across, they're probably mostly minorities because we have the trouble securing the funding. I mean, it's just, that's just the way the system is set up. So we have to know how to work things creatively.
Here's what she went on to say. She said, in many cases, a great payment history with at least a 620 score isn't enough because of that racist algorithm. That's not the problem. That's not the problem with this bank system. So this is the big elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. It is an environment. Listen, you look at, just do your numbers, your research. When it comes to real estate and financing, there's been a strong racist system with certain banks. I'm not saying every bank's like that, but she just kind of put that out there, and I appreciate her saying that.
Yes.
So thank you for saying that and giving us that information. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sydney.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
All right. Anyone else? Because this is really getting good. I'm like excited now, man.
I just want to add for any individual out there, right now is the time to go through credit repair. From what I've been seeing, we've been getting a lot of deletions right now, and I just think because of COVID-19 and what's going on.
Really?
Obviously, you know, the credit bureaus are probably, I would say, backed up, staffed, or whatever the case may be. So I've been getting a lot of deletions as of late. So for the listening audience, if you need credit repair, now is the time to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
really.
Travis, I also want to add this on. I read recently that the 3 bureaus are allowing you to pull your credit monthly for the next 12 months.
Oh, really?
Monthly. Wow. So you can check your credit every month to see what's going on monthly. And so that website is www.annualcreditreport.com. Let's see if I can type that in for us.
And Jimmie, just to let you know, I threw some credit unions in the chat for people that are very generous.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Generous with giving money once you're a member. And you always, rule of thumb, whatever, city and state you live in, you always want to go to those credit unions right in your own backyard because they're smaller and they throw away money at you. But just to kind of add on to what Travis said, I hope that I don't step on anybody's toes, but I kind of want to give a freebie to somebody.
Okay.
When it comes to credit repair, yes, it's really important to do. And I'm glad that Travis mentioned that about the deletions, but inquiries are so important when it comes to credit, because if you have too many, you're not going to get approved for anything. So I just let people know, like, if you don't have any negatives and you don't really need deletions on any type of creditors, but you need to get your inquiries removed, you can always call up to Experian and they'll remove it the same day.
Really?
Wow. They answer the phone? Are you serious?
Yeah. The key is you have to call through the membership line. When you call through the membership line, you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong department. Can you transfer me?" I get through right away. And they removed my inquiries right when I was on the phone with them. That's for Experian only, so that's just a little nugget.
Sydney is a sir.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Sydney is a sir. Sorry, Sydney, sir.
Sorry, Sydney. Because when I said Sydney, I said as if it was a female. He said I'm a dude and I'm happily grandpa. I apologize. All right.
Thank you for your input, Sydney. We appreciate it.
And thank you, Lana, for that, because most people don't know this. They don't know the industry. They don't know what, I didn't even know that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really quick way to remove your inquiries on Experian. Unfortunately, you kind of have to either mail or fax. Faxing is, you fax to Equifax, and I can give the fax number quicker than mailing.
Okay. There's one more thing I want Lana to share with us. She don't have to go into detail, but she stumbled across something very special. And if you're interested in it, she found a program. It's not going to last very long. So Lana, you don't have to talk about it now, but it's where small businesses are getting like 20 grand. And we're not going to talk about it on here, but I want, yes, you can. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So one of my business associates actually sent a text message, her being approved for the PPP. And I'm sure you guys have all heard of that. It's the Paycheck Protection Plan that the SBA is giving to small business owners. So she showed me her approval. And then the very next day, she had $20,000 in her bank account. So she's like, "Why don't you just go ahead and apply?" I was like, okay. So I applied Tuesday evening. It was around 9 o'clock. Wednesday morning, I had an approval. I signed my loan documentations, and this morning I had $20,611 deposited in my bank account.
Wow.
As soon as I got that approval, I called Jimmie. He didn't answer his phone, so I'm texting him, "Call me immediately." As soon as anything, because we all know Jimmie's busy. So he calls me, and then I told him about it. I told him to apply, and lo and behold, Arlene got $20,000 deposited in her bank account too. So I say that to say, if you are a business owner on this webinar, please get with Jimmie. If Jimmie's busy, he'll give you my number so we can get you guys set up and get you $20,000 in your bank account. That will help. Travis, you want to invest that money wisely. I can't tell you what to do with the money, but you want to invest because like Arlene was saying about money is called currency for a reason. It's not going to flow if you keep it in your bank account.
That's
so
right.
You have to move. And the best part about this loan is that if you do not use it for payroll or rent, mortgage, or utilities, then the payback terms are 6 months. So it's deferred for 6 months. So you don't have to make a payment for 6 months. It's a 1% interest rate.
Okay.
And it's a monthly payment for 24 months. Now there is a loan forgiveness where you don't have to pay back this loan. And basically you would have to show proof of either payroll, that you use that money for payroll, rent, mortgage, or utilities. There's a list of things, and you can Google it. I haven't made this up. Donald Trump, our president, has talked about the PPP. The first round, they ran out of money. So this is the second time around.
Of course.
They're doing applications up until June 30th or until they run out. So I encourage you to have a bit.
Question.
Get with Jimmie. Yeah.
Listen, I applied for the PPP, and the lady was contacting me for documents. Like, Can you send me your payroll?
Right.
Okay, let me tell you, there's a couple of websites that you can go to, and you don't even have to worry about that, right, Jimmie and Arlene?
That's right. You're right.
You don't even have to worry about that.
Look,
All you need is a Schedule C. A Schedule C, your bank statement, and your ID. These two companies is called Square Up and Blue Vine. I encouraged Jimmie and Arlene to apply for both to see which one was going to approve them first, like as I did. Blue Vine approved me first, and Square approved Arlene first. So you won't get approved for both, but either one, that's still 20 grand in your bank account.
So now, let me just tell you guys, I'm making this announcement so everyone on here doesn't know. I recently got hired with Small Business Administration.
Oh, really? Good for you. All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I have to tell you guys, I am formally not in training yet,
Okay.
but I'll be able to share. And guess what? When all of this ends and the small business loans need to be, structured or whatever guidelines we need to know,
Yeah.
voila, maybe I'll be able to share.
Awesome.
Wow. It's fantastic.
That's the power of networking. That's just the power of networking.
That's
And,
it.
Yeah.
You know, the power of building relationships. It's so important. It's
Yeah.
very-
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed myself, and again, when you have a mastermind, it's a group of people that can do things you can't. You don't have to do it all, and that's us as a people. Listen, every other group has learned how to do it, have mastered, but us. Now, we're not excluding anyone, but what I'm saying is, if you look at the Chinese, their dollar stays within their community for 30 days. Okay, it circulates, and they work together. The Jewish people do it for about 20 days. Okay, but when it comes to us, as soon as we get our money, some people, the wrong person gets 20 grand, they're going to go and they're going to buy the Michael Jordan, they're going to buy all this. We the only one, within 6 to 10 to 12 hours, that money leaves us. So we have to galvanize, and I'm talking for, all of us together who are on here, we have to find a way to make that money bounce around so we can make that money grow, and then we can change our communities. I mean, I think the last revolution to take place, it's not just marching down the street, it's creating the wealth so you can have your own police, so we can police ourselves and have home ownership and things of that nature.
And let me
go ahead.
Let me also say that $20K that was in our bank account is not for us to go buy Jordans or a TV. This is for us to invest.
Exactly.
And this is the mentality that we're really fighting against, that we're coming together on, and we're really teaching self-education.
Absolutely.
It's important for us to educate ways how we can finance these debts, because that's the problem. We've carried so much debt, and there was no end goal. Travis really gave a good analogy about there was no why. There was no, well, what is your purpose? Why do you want $500,000? Why do you want $900,000? What is your why for that? And again, I can't reiterate it enough. That's the reason why we have JW Real Estate Training Institute, because even with COVID being the way that it is, we have another millionaire mentor who's a part of our team, he's a big Airbnb advocate, Coach Jim. Those of you guys who are in our inner circle know who he is. I mean, this man owns hundreds of properties all over the state of New York, all over.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so much so to the point where the city of Rochester asked him to house some of the homeless for free because they could not afford to pay for all of the housing that he owns.
Oh, yeah.
So he just gave it away because he can do it like that. But what I'm saying is, look for ways to invest. Now is a really good time. Interest rates are very low for houses, for buying houses. Now is the time to talk about how can we get back into the real estate industry? How can we purchase, even when the situation looks bleakest because of COVID-19? This is not the time to have a pandemic, as Jimmie was saying. This is a plandemic. This is a planning time.
Right.
So how can we strategize economically where we can get a portfolio of houses? How can we syndicate some hotels? How can we come together to buy a casino? How can we, because this COVID-19 is not going to last forever.
Right.
Property is something that is always going to last as an asset.
Right.
That is something you can always draw equity from. You can always borrow off of it. That's always an equity, an asset. That's
exactly
the way that our customer who was able to get funded was funded. With she owned a property, a 4-story property, and she owned it outright. And that was all she had. She had a 500 credit score, and she ended up getting funded. So think about real estate. Think about purchasing. We were talking about online businesses before. Jimmie and I are really techie and very into following my business primarily, and Travis knows this, Dr. Shamonia knows this, Lana knows this, everyone knows this, is marketing and branding.
Right.
So right now, you should be thinking about starting a business. My partner is on right now, my business partner, Claudia Ordonez.
Hey, Claudia.
Claudia, are you there?
I am.
Okay, I just wanted you to say hi to everybody. This is my business strategist. I mean, I don't mean to take over Dr. Shamonia. I promise I'll be quiet. I promise I'll be quiet. I promise. But I mean, now is the time to think about launching your branding, launching your marketing, reaching the market. Now is that time. Now is not the time to fold and crush because, oh my God, the coronavirus, so we're all going to stay at home. This is the time to reach out because you have the attention of people. They're sitting at home ordering food. They don't have anything to do. So now is a good time to have the webinars. Now is a good time to do social media marketing. Now is the time to get Facebook advertising. Now is the time to have a sit down with someone like Claudia. Claudia's business is Kingdom Concepts and Strategies, and we're going to have a webinar next week, and we're going to be discussing more of these things where we can help you to launch your business from a marketing aspect and really talk about some plans. So I'm going to be quiet.
Awesome.
I need that.
Awesome. Anyone out there have any questions? We're going to be quiet so you guys can see if you guys have any questions. One of the questions, Lana, also was Square Up, and what was the name of the other bank?
Blue Vine. I'm going to go ahead and type it in.
I typed it in too. I just typed in toward the bottom there.
Oh, you did? Okay, perfect.
Oh, it's private.
No. Lana, could you share that, please? Thank you.
Bluevine.com.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to have all us submitting applications.
Yep. You gotta make sure you have your Schedule C. That she knows someone that can do that for you too.
Yeah,
but you got to get that
get
done.
in contact with us so that we could
we'll
help you with that.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I'm muted. Am I muted?
Someone's saying something. Is that you, Sheila? Coach Sheila? Oh no.
Hello, everyone.
Hey there. Hi there.
This is Fabiola. I was invited by Dr. Shamonia.
Hey there.
Hi there, Fabiola.
Hi, you guys are amazing. This is
fantastic.
very informative and knowledgeable. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh my God. This is just
I am
amazing.
so glad you came on.
Thanks for coming on.
I know I was trying to get on before the time, and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot miss this. So from listening to you guys, it just motivate me to get back in line because I'm in the process of trying to get a home.
Okay.
When I heard that, I'm like, oh my God. This meeting is just all for me because I'm just sitting there and like, wow.
Amazing.
I'm in the process to purchase a home, and with the credit, my credit, while I'm at home, I begin to study on YouTube what I need to do with my credit. I said, this is the time for me to learn myself and get my credit back up. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So
that's right.
What makes me think I can't do it? So I began to go on YouTube and study. And I did my letter and I sent it out to the 3 credit bureau within not even a few days. And I certified the mail and my credit went up.
Wow, fantastic.
Really? Wow.
God be all the glory.
Fabiola,
can
I give you some advice?
I went on Google and
Fabiola,
I began to.
I think Lana wanted to give you some advice on something. I'm about to cut you.
Okay, go ahead. I didn't hear that part.
How soon are you looking to purchase your home?
I didn't hear that.
How soon are you looking to buy your home?
Probably 3 months or sooner.
So once you get your credit all together, my advice to you, and this is the biggest thing, since you're trying to buy a home, don't apply for any credit. It's going to kill your debt to income, okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow, yeah.
Apply after you get your home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No
Thank
new
you. Is there
car.
any realtor on the line?
Trust me.
No new car.
What state?
Any
What
new
state
credit.
are you in?
I'm in Florida, but I'm
Oh.
looking to purchase in Port St. Lucie.
Oh, Port
Okay.
St. Lucie?
That's
Okay,
right.
I
Yeah.
have a realtor for you.
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
Thank you,
Good.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And I
Awesome.
think Jimmie is the one for the business loan, I believe. And
Well, I do it, but basically, so everybody you see on here work under my umbrella, and if it's something I can't do, I'll just send you their way and we work something out. But you can contact us for that, and then we'll send you where you need to be.
To
Okay.
be, yeah.
okay, I know it won't be a cash
Oh, okay,
advance.
you know someone.
Okay.
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 Okay, awesome. This is amazing.
We're glad to have you,
Fantastic.
and thanks for
you,
joining.
Fabiola.
Thank you. For how do I get in touch with that realtor? You guys have my info?
I'm going to send you information. Claudia just put notes out that she knows someone that builds homes. So how about that? You can have a brand new
Pull that back over.
customized home.
Awesome,
Oh, wow.
awesome,
Oh, wow.
awesome.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
That's
Okay.
good.
Thank you, Claudia.
So
Thanks, Claudia.
I'll definitely connect you with Claudia. I have your information and I'll send it over so you guys can connect.
Wow.
Thank you. You guys are amazing. You guys are
Awesome.
angels.
I
Oh
have
my
a
God.
question.
To God be the
This
glory.
group has been amazing, and I want to see if we can just come back. Can we just come back like in 30 days? Just this group.
Oh, absolutely. Whenever you want to.
Absolutely.
We have all the progress. Let's talk about our $20,000
Yeah.
loans. Let's talk about our credit. Let's talk about what we can buy our home. So I'm excited.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Let's do
do
it.
it.
Let's do
Great
it.
idea. I love it.
Great idea. Me too.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, Travis, do you have a payment plan for us?
Yes, I do.
I was going to ask that.
I do.
I was going to ask that question, but I was afraid.
Yeah, we have a payment plan. Of course, you do the consultation, and then, it's case by case. So I definitely work with clients because my passion is to help. So yes, we do have a payment plan, but we'll sit down and go through the consultation and discuss that based on your finances. So,
Okay.
Yes.
all right.
You won't be
Where are
disappointed.
you in Texas?
I didn't hear your question.
Are you in Texas?
I'm in Florida.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I'm in Central Florida. I have clients in Texas too, though.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just want to, because we have gone an hour and a half, we did really good. Let's see. I want to open a restaurant this year. I can't wait to speak with you, Shamona. Woo-hoo. So listen, Travis, everybody has goals. So
That's right.
Travis said, what's going to be your end game?
That's
Travis,
right.
a lot of people on here that have end goals. So I like that. I like that.
Yes.
I'm so excited. I'm happy. So when this ends, I'm gonna go on Facebook and I'm going to not really vent, but we always want information, but we never want to show up for the information. And people could have been in position because guess what? This was God giving information to strategically place people in line to receive.
Amen.
That's right.
Yes. Amen.
That's right.
Come on.
That's right.
But let me give you a word of wisdom.
I believe that
They
100%.
Yeah,
They missed it.
they did.
You about to say something?
I was going to say, I'm going to give you a word of wisdom. You probably already know
Wow.
this, but when it comes to uncommon blessings and the Most High pouring out something special in the earth realm, no matter what it is, if it's something that's going to change lives and you put it out there, most people are going to take it for granted. So let's say you reach 30 people. If you get 10 to 15 to 20% of those people to show up, which you did, because we had 13 or 14 people, you did fantastic. The other 80% will be working for the other 20%. That's the way it's going to work.
Amen.
Now, does the Father want that? He wants us all to be able to live our passions and dreams, but some of them are, I hate to use the word, cowardly. They don't want to put the work in. They like the $1 million. They like the nice house. They like the lifestyle, but nobody likes paying the price. You know what I mean? And they could have got some mentorship tonight. They could have got some information, and they chose not to. But according to the numbers, you don't need to vent, my sister. You did very well.
Yeah.
Tonight you started the path of creating at least one millionaire on here. I mean, we know my wife and I know we're millionaires. You know you're one. Travis knows he's one. It's everybody else is
I'm
listening.
right behind you.
Listen to me, guys. Me, Arlene, Travis, and Shamona know we're millionaires, but everybody else, and Lana. Oh, I'm sorry, Lana and Claudia, but everybody else has to make up their mind to put the work in and get that mindset and put the work in for it.
Sorry, she didn't know she's the millionaire too.
Oh, that's right.
Come on, Coach Sheila.
Coach, I forgot you were there. Yes.
That's right, Coach.
I'm right behind you guys.
I know you are.
That's right.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset before it becomes a reality. Then you have to put the work in. You have to strategize. Listen.
Amen.
You have to visualize. Look at this. You have to visualize. Write it down. Make it plain. Visualize before you materialize. Okay.
That's right.
Let's make it happen.
Phone.
Right.
What's the quickest way to become a millionaire?
Wow. Who said that? Who asked that?
I think it was Lana.
Yeah.
Well, Lana, it's okay. That's a very. Who's gonna answer that question? I'm gonna let somebody else answer that question. Who's gonna answer that? I'm not gonna take that one. Go ahead.
What do you mean? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Listen. The fastest way to manifest where you are when you speak a thing and you're actually getting it is the faith. It's the in between, because a lot of us, everyone, most of us are visionaries. So if you see the vision and it's there and you can touch it, the faith in between, which means is the action. It's going to determine that time frame, right? I tried over 50 companies. My last 49th and 50th company actually worked. So it took me. I'm 45. Then you got guys that become millionaires when they're 19 or 20. But again, it's you visualize, you put the work in, bam. So that question is predicated on the individual and what they're willing to put in for it. So I just can't say, you follow what I'm saying? Go ahead.
See that, Claudia.
What'd she say?
A million.
Oh, she said through real estate. Okay. I got it. That was a trick question. You got me.
Yeah.
You got me. I received that. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, actually, it's kind of coincidental because, like I said, we're partners with everyone on here, and Claudia is already, we're already doing some big things with real estate in New York right now as we speak. With the pandemic going on, and we're working deals in Brooklyn, deals in Jersey, deals in, we're just working.
Mm-hmm.
We're just working. So, we'll be seeing Travis real soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I look forward to it. I love to see it. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You guys got me excited. I'm excited. Thank you, Dr. Shimona, for having me there.
Thank you so very much, and I look forward to following back up with you guys again so we can go ahead and look. Claudia said, "I declare and decree open heavens over." It popped off the screen.
Yes.
Come on, that's it. Go ahead, Claudia. Amen. We receive that.
Yes. We love that.
So, let's see. I will reach out to you guys and find out what's a good date. Let's schedule something. Let's do this again. 30-minute rapid fire updates.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm on board.
Definitely.
I'm on board.
All right.
Yeah.
Reach out
Coach Sheila, you trying to say something?
Yeah.
Okay, we apologize. Go ahead.
Who do we reach out to in reference to sit with us? Lucy?
Say that again because you're breaking up.
She said, who did she reach out to in reference to? And I didn't hear the last part.
In reference to receiving the assistance with the schedule.
Oh, in reference to getting assistance with a Schedule C.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You can reach out to us for that.
Absolutely, and then we'll connect you to the right person for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Awesome.
This was very nice.
It was very nice.
Yes, it was.
Very nice. And thank you all for coming and taking the time.
Lana and Jimmie.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes,
Bye,
thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say
Good
something to Dr. Shimona. Dr. Shimona, you are, I just hear the Most High saying that, this is going to be an international thing for you. This is like a big thing where you're going to really you know, where you're going to have a real broadcast and the financial realm.
Amen.
I mean, she's one of my wife and I. She mentors us. I mean, we haven't really got like a ton of coaching just yet, but we're declaring that she's our coach when it comes to personal development.
Yes.
You know, because she's done a lot of things already.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, I got several mentors. So Travis, when it comes to, you know, with this whole thing with business funding, business financing, he's my guy.
Yes.
Lana has taught me a lot more about, you know, different sides of funding, you know, when it comes to cash advance and all that. But Dr. Shamonia, she has a brilliant presence, and there's something about her personality.
Yes.
I just want to draw and want to glean from that. They call her the money coach. So money coming to me. Money. Yes. I received that. All right.
I received it.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you guys for everything. Thank you guys for everything.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
guys.
Awesome. It was great.
Awesome.
Coach
Great
Sheila.
call, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right.
And
Thank you guys.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Okay.
God bless.
Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
good night.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Hey,
Bye-bye.